fancy PowerPoint presentation, so I will just speak from here. I want to thank you for the invitation. Thank you for having me here today and to hear all about this work. I want to congratulate you on this huge work, the survey and the draft report, which I already had the chance to read. And I find this a very solid basis on which to have, as you note in your report, some first insights, so to say, and recommendations. I will come back to this, but I think we need to continue the work because, indeed, there is a lot that we don't know about the use of mountain product optional quality term. But I want to take a little bit step back because we heard about the GI review already earlier today. And it was interesting, at least when I was preparing for today, to see that there was not much in our impact assessment on mountain products. Impact assessment, I mean on the GI review, the Geographical Indication regulation. There was not so much voices that we heard from stakeholders, neither member states nor producer groups on mountain products. So it goes to show something. It could be indeed this lack of organization. So that's interesting. And then we had the GI review process that took a long time, that is being signed tomorrow, and will probably enter into force in May. But that doesn't mean that the train on mountain product has forever left the station. And as you say, we continue to hear from the sector, because already the sector is talking about an action plan. So it's not like we can rest on our laurier, as we say in French, but we will continue the work. So for this, I would strongly indeed encourage the sector to continue gathering information and feedback from producers and member states, because we need to learn indeed what is going on the ground. What are the views of member states, of authorities that are dealing with mountain products and quality scheme in general, and what can be improved or should be improved. Why is this valuable, at least from the Commission point of view? Because we have no information, because this is entirely up to the member states, indeed, to implement this scheme. And as you've noted, it was thought like this. It had to be easy to use, and it had to be up to the member states to see how they wanted to implement it. We have a delegated act, which is probably one of the shortest I've ever read, and even that can be derogated from. So Euromontana's report was a very good source of information for us. This report will be a very good source of information, and we need to indeed map the practices as they exist and as they will develop on the ground from other member states. And I note Austria, which, I mean, Austria is an obvious mountainous state, so to say, Germany, Bulgaria, Croatia, but also those who have not implemented the scheme at all. Why? Why are producers also not pushing for it, or are they pushing but not being heard? What are their motivations? What is the drawback that they see? This report is, I've read it as in sort of like a case study, because we read a lot about Italy and Romania and a little bit about France, not to disregard that they did participate in some scale. Something that's already very interesting is that it can already inspire other member states as you read it, because it shows to them what has been put in place, what can be put in place, very simplistically, to already help, because the ones who are then signing on, 90% of them say we will stay on. So it means that if you do something, it's making everybody's life happier on that project. So so that's a good. It's always good for other member states to see what their neighbors are doing, to inspire themselves and perhaps learn from it. So I want to take a few examples because when I was reading it, I was thinking, yes, indeed, what about a list of users? Yes or no? The advantages, the drawbacks. It really would help, indeed, with controls, for example, in France. It has certain advantages, but then what about the challenge of maintaining it up to date? As you note in the report, it's not always the people who are using it. They have the right to use, but are they using it? Sometimes they've stopped operating altogether in the sector, so the list is not up to date. So it makes the life of the authorities complicated. So it is something to sort of finding the right balance here. The impact of information campaigns, also clear in Romania, the uptake in 2020 and 2021 after an information campaign. The data is there. You just collected it. So it clearly shows that there is an impact. I'll come back to that about promotion campaigns. And I found it also interesting to see how users of the optional quality term have heard about it. Because it was quite an even spread, even though there was a little bit of a majority. It was quite an even spread across the different channels. And that already you can draw a conclusion from that all those channels should be used if we want to continue promoting this optional quality term. So not any of them has sort of a priority. Word of mouth or institutional campaigns, both of them are useful. All four that were proposed as choices for the answers. I want to come back a little bit, I've touched on it, on controls. And when I speak of controls, it's mostly on the aspect of protection of the optional quality term and enforcement, as we think of it in, I would say, in the quality scheme geographical indication world. So it's not so much the control of the user of mountain product quality term. It's the control on the ground of those who are using it and don't have the right to use it or are not using it properly. I cannot stress enough how we, and when I say we, I would say the Geographical Indication Unit, and I can't speak on behalf of the whole Commission, think this is very important. Because producers note in the report, in the survey, how the term mountain is still being used, while some producers are not adhering to the optional quality term rules. That shows 2 points. First of all, it's a huge challenge for the member state authorities. I mean, controls is a challenge, but control of, an optional quality term creates another challenge. So even in member states where you have listings, rules, where it's regulated, where it's organized, you still have an issue of controls and enforcement. So it shows that there is, again, that balance to be found on implementing such a scheme. And then, time and again, and we repeat and repeat, controls are very important because they're a cornerstone of a quality scheme. Because without that, you can't create or reinforce consumer confidence in the scheme, so they will just distance themselves or disregard, and you don't create the willingness and the worth of the effort for the producers to adhere to a scheme. So they also will distance themselves. So you need to create that trust, and by creating that trust, you need to, and we've heard it in the panel before, get rid of the counterfeiting, the fraud. On the challenges that are noted and the recommendations, I think when we refer to the optional quality term, mountain product, I think we all agree also here that all those challenges and recommendations are shared at large by producers that are in mountainous areas at all. because, as a matter of fact, they're placed in more stringent conditions for production. They have increased costs, reduced possibilities to use certain machineries. And they don't see those challenges compensated in better profit margins. I'm sure we'll hear about it in a minute. So the two are very much interlinked. It's a little bit difficult to really assess what is linked to the optional quality term intrinsically or just generally for these producers in general. I wanted to react on the EU level recommendations, but they've changed between the draft report and what you just presented. So on promotion, I hear, and I will take back, and my director is here, and he's also in charge of promotion, so we will take back and the note that it is not clearly said that mountain products is eligible for the promotion program of the European Commission. So facilitating accessibility to promotion, it will be something that we will reflect on, I'm sure. And so I turned this way because this is where my director is now taking notes. But on the organization of producers in producer groups, I think the jury might still be out. I don't know if this is something that would not perhaps create administrative burden, which goes against the easy to use, so to say, essence of this optional quality term. Then again, there are other ways to get to the promotion program, and we have several organizations in the room that can definitely carry applications for promotion program on behalf of mountain product producers. I won't come back on controls too much, but I wanted to say something about the fact that we have to remember that controls are in the hands of member states, not the Commission. And while we're very, very interested in the topic and following it with great care, at the end of the day, and there we are in the hands of what member states are doing. So we can only be sort of raising the hand and saying, please be more careful here. On the logo, interesting. Again, to be reflected on, and I'll take that home and we can discuss. But let me conclude on this by thanking you for this work. Please do continue, even though the moving project is concluding, and do share with us the continued work with the community, because I'm sure it is invaluable to them. Many thanks.